Hello, everybody. This is a bit of a new one, just Breven and myself. Sorry, I wasn't at the last episode. Things happened, but all good. Breven, how's it? Welcome.
Yeah, how's it? First time me and Brett are doing this by ourselves. I mean, we've each done it with casual a few times, but yeah, me and Brett. Actually, I'm looking forward to this. We haven't done anything like this in a while, so I'm keen. And also some interesting results that shocked me a bit, especially with my own team. So yeah, I'm keen to get into this. So yeah, please guys remember, like, subscribe. We're getting to business end now of all tournaments basically, and we're going into international season. So you're definitely going to be hearing more of Safa's Unscripted. So yeah, please remember to subscribe, and we appreciate you guys.
Cannot wait. And just for those that are very curious to why is Casual Bias Rugby not here, the man flew all across the world to the other side of the world to meet to go be with his Macy, with his girlfriend. So cool. Love wins. Love wins.
Yeah, kudos to him. Kudos to him.
Yeah. Okay, so while I'm at it, let me wipe the smile off my face because I did not have a great weekend of rugby predictions and I did not have a great weekend of watching rugby. I was quite furious. But we'll start with your game. Breven, what do you think of your beloved Bulls against Benetton?
Oh, it's all I can really say is obviously we have Leinster traveling to Loftus this coming Saturday. And if we produce something like that against Leinster, it is over for the Bulls, I believe. But just looking at the game on its own, I think it's unfortunate. Obviously, Kirtley is probably out, may even miss the international window as well.
Yeah.
Kanan is out. He also had surgery. Apparently, Marco van Staden is also a doubt for this Leinster game. But yeah, like I said, let's look at the game. I just think the Bulls, again, start well, and then it kind of just fizzes out. Kirtley having his magic in the beginning, and then obviously what happened. Many think, obviously he should have been carded, but at the end of the day, he still had to go off and he failed his HIA. But yeah, probably was a card, let's be honest.
Thank you.
Like I'm not gonna beat around the bush. It probably, in today's day and age, it probably was a card. I would go yellow because there was quite a bit of limitations to it. But yeah, again, I'm happy with David Creel again. I think he was very good again. Obviously I'm keen to see which Bulls players get called up to that Springbok squad once they are out of the URC, or cross fingers win it. You never know. But yeah, the Bulls have a lot of things to work on. I mean, especially approaching this Leinster game with 3 stars probably not available. It's worrying, but you can only have what you have, and you cannot use it as an excuse. So Bulls are going to have to really work hard to beat Leinster. And like I said, producing the performance against Benetton will not be enough to beat Leinster. So yeah, that's just my thoughts.
What's your right wing's name?
Well, there's Sebastian de Klerk.
Sebastian de Klerk, that's what I was talking about. That's what I was thinking about. When I made my Super Brew predictions, I looked at the teams and I saw that when I saw Nizam Kar and Sebastian de Klerk in the starting lineup, I changed my prediction from Bulls to win to Benetton to win. And I wasn't far off because that was one of the Bulls' worst performance at home in a very long time. I was not happy with that performance at all. You can't score in 24 seconds and then again in 6 minutes and then just win the game by 7 points. I mean, come on, that was very unacceptable. But what I will hand the Bulls is their grit and their bench. When their bench came on, well, your team's bench when they came on, Akker van der Merwe definitely makes a massive difference in that team. So I felt a little bit more at ease. I was like, okay, this is a prediction I don't mind getting wrong. Just bloody win it, Bulls. Unfortunately, they did. But I was very confused with the Kurtley Orense incident. When it happened, as it happened live, I was like, oh shit, that's straight red card. And then I saw, okay, then I saw it in slow motion. Okay, there's mitigation. Both of them are low. Both of them are kind of going for the ball. But it's still, if we're consistent with what we've seen the last 3 years, that is a yellow card all day long. And it wasn't even a penalty. So Bulls got away with one there. So good on them. Finally, something goes for the South African teams. So I wasn't too upset about that. I just had the question.
Yeah. And like, obviously looking forward, it's playoffs. So you kind of, even if you play badly, you want to win your game, which is, I think that's what the Bulls did. They definitely weren't firing. But going into next week, it's a matter of there's no negotiation. There has to be a good performance put in place. Like, you cannot not perform against Leinster and get away with it. And without stars like Kurtley, Kane, and Marku, and usually you would have a Marcel Coetzee come in for Marku van Staden, but at the moment it's Nizam Kar because Marcel is also out. It's worrying. But like I said, I'm not going to use any excuses. It is what it is. We have what we have. But credit to Benetton as well. I'm not going to come here and say the Bulls are the only ones to blame for that. I think Benetton came there with a purpose. Benetton came there to win. Obviously they came off recently a loss at Loftus where they received 50, even though they scored 30 odd points. They did get a 50, and they just thought, listen, doesn't matter. We're still going to come to Loftus, and we're going to show you that we belong in the top 8 of this tournament. And I think they truly showed that. On a different day, that could have gone Benetton's way. So massive credit to them. But yeah, enough about my team. Hopefully they get it right this week, Saturday. But I think, let's chat about Stormers.
We can now. I just have one question for you, though. Do you think that it was quite obvious that Benetton targeted Sebastian de Klerk the whole time? Do you think they switch him out, get someone else in, maybe like a Sergio Peterson in there, who's better under the high ball, firstly? And because Sebastian de Klerk is a good runner, I give him that. But defensively and under the high ball, under pressure, he's not there yet. There's potential, but he's not there yet. What do you think?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think the only options we have, because obviously it's guaranteed Willie will start at 15. That's a non-negotiation. But then now with both Kurtley and Kanan being out, I think one wing has to be Sergio Peterson, for sure. Even though he hasn't played a bunch, it still has to happen. And then you kind of have to negotiate between Devin Williams and Sebastian de Klerk as the other option. Do you play Devin Williams, who's more likely a better 15, and sacrifice him on the wing, or do you just carry on going with Sebastian de Klerk? So, in my honest opinion, I haven't been 100% happy or convinced by Devin Williams this season. I think Sebastian de Klerk has been better. He may have had a not so great game against Benetton, but I'd still go with him over Devin Williams, just purely based on the fact that I think de Klerk's been better this season. It is a bit of a toss-up, but at this point, those are the only two options we have, I reckon, on that other wing. So, yeah, it's unfortunate.
And you don't think if you move Willie Leroux to right wing and put Devin Williams at fullback?
That was a thought. It was a thought, and you know what, that could work because Willie is my goodness, he's about to hit 100 tests for the Springboks. He's got all the experience in the world. And he is a guy that will take anything for the team. And I'm happy for Willie to move to wing. Even if he has to slot in that 15 in defense just to organize the defense. But on attack, he can be on the wing. I think that's another thing that it could suit him. And then having Devin Williams at 15, that's an option I would definitely explore. But it's up to Jake White. Does he go with the new kind of system in the back three, or does he just stick with Villy at 15 and hope Villy can organise the back three? So going to be interesting to see what Jake decides to go with there.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, let's move on to the Stormers game. Oh my God. I'm literally gonna be that guy now. I'm gonna sound like Divan. I mean, like casual bias, and I'm going to bash the living shit out of the referee. Like, oh my goodness. So first, before I do that, what are your thoughts on the game?
You know what? It's on the game itself. I just felt like the Stormers couldn't get going. I felt like Marnie. Look, don't get me wrong. The conditions were horrible, and Marnie just couldn't kick. I mean, he's shown improvements in his kicking this season for the Stormers, but just I think the conditions were rough. But you're the flower if you can make the comments on that. I just felt like the Stormers couldn't get going. But I know exactly the incident you want to refer to, and I completely agree. Because there were two incidents where it's like, why are the Stormers getting penalized and yellow carded? But in the other instance, I mean, Kyle Steyn literally nearly made Gelant do that was very close to, that was very close to being extremely dangerous, but gets away with nothing at all. I don't even think it was a penalty, if I'm correct, eh?
No.
Yeah, so, I think game-wise, I think Stormers just couldn't get going. The conditions were horrible. Glasgow adapted well. I think even with 14 men, the Stormers kept fighting, and that's impressive. Obviously, we know at a stage it was 13-10, and it was anyone's game, and then Glasgow just ran away with it at the end. But yeah, I do think there were some influential calls that definitely benefited Glasgow, and that's coming from a Bulls fan. So yeah, I'm going to let you go on your rant because I know you've got a lot to say.
So firstly, Kyle Steyn, I think, is an absolute tonsil. I noticed him, he's a very off-the-ball, niggly person. Like every time I see somebody gets pushed and I look, it's Kyle Steyn pushing a guy off the ball or trying to rip the ball out of a guy's hand if there's a knock on or something like that. He's a very niggly player. But I only noticed it yesterday. I don't know if it's always like that, but yeah.
Look, I know the guy personally. Like, he's actually a really good guy. So I don't on field he's obviously his own player, but like I'll never say anything bad about him because like I know him personally. So
yeah, you guys are cool together. I don't care.
Well, also.
But firstly, that incident in the air, the ref said to Salman Murat, and another thing, the ref bullied Salman Murat. It was one of those Sia Kulisi moments where whatever Salman Murat said, the ref just like, no, just shut up, move along, please, don't want to listen to you. Because he said to him that his hands had to go somewhere. Yes, if your hands are up, they can go down. They don't have to go to the bloody side and clothesline a guy, almost breaking his nose and make him do a backflip. And the ref said there was nothing wrong with that. That blew my mind, firstly. And then when Salman Murat goes into a mall, then all of a sudden he says, there was head contact, I get that. But did you see Dion Foury's tweet? Dion Foury said, if you slow motion every single ruck in rugby,
I saw that.
There'll be a red card every single ruck in rugby. And he went upright into a mall. For me, that wasn't even anything. That was nothing. That was like just playing rugby. I mean, Curtly Orenser, blatant head-on-head collision, nothing. And then obviously this Salman Murat joining a mall, upright position. Obviously slow motion makes it look so much worse. That guy didn't even know his head got hit. He didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, but I completely agree. Yeah, like with regards to what Dion Foury said, it's 100% true. Like if you slow everything down, every collision will look bad. It's just how it is. Like obviously it's one of those things where we just keep begging for it. We keep begging for its consistency, and I'm also gonna call out the Bulls here. Like Curtly is definitely a card, definitely a penalty. and then you look at the Stormers one, and it's like, okay, but they're getting penalised. Why aren't the Bulls? And then you look at Carl Staines' incident, and you think, it doesn't matter. You just, like, if you take someone out in the air, even if I understand if they both, like, were contesting and they both nearly had their hands on the ball, fine. But he didn't. Like, he literally just had his arm out. He was in no realistic place to catch the ball. That immediately needs to be penalized. Yellow, whatever, that's the referee's decision, but penalized 1000%. So yes. The lack of consistency is what makes South African fans angry, and on another day it can make Irish fans angry. Like, it's just one of those things where kind of like the rugby world needs to realize this isn't a moaning issue. We need to stick together on this issue, because, like, this can ruin so many games. I mean, yes. just for reference, we saw it in the Prem final. There was a red card to the Bath player. Many say it's a red, many say it wasn't, but that's debatable. But look how the red card, like, influences the game, and, like, a card really does influence the game. So a card really needs to be given if it's 1000% necessary. So yeah.
And then obviously, as we go on in the game, I don't think Manie Libbok had a bad game in general, but you can't miss all your kicks. You can't. Firstly, I want to know why he was kicking in those conditions when his tee is about this high, and you need a tee this low so you can keep the ball low so the weight doesn't have an impact on the ball. Like, I'm a high tee kicker. So in those conditions, I would have told my coach, sorry, sir, I can't kick now, because I get high under the ball. I mean, when I kick from right in front of the poles, my ball goes over the top of the pole. That's how high I kick. And same with Manie Libbok. So I was like, what? Sasha, he pointed out, he's like, do you want me to take it? And Manie's like, no, I've got this. And then he misses again, kicks against the pole. So I was very confused by why he was kicking in the first place, regardless of whether he missed or not. Those conditions are not for a high tee kicker. I'm sorry. And then also another thing, what blew my mind was the try that let Glasgow go to 20. They kick off, Stormers knock the ball into a Glasgow player. They knock the ball. The guy puts his hand up like he's angry that he knocked the ball from Glasgow. They play on, they score. The commentator's like, okay, no, we know it's not going to be a try. He's going to come back for the knock-on. Nothing. Replay after replay. It's blatant. Nothing. They kick for goal. They're up 20 points to 30 now. I'm like, oh my God, what am I watching here? So, yes, I did have a bit of I made it personal, and I didn't enjoy it. And I didn't see, when it was 78 minutes, I put off the TV. I was done. I didn't watch. So I didn't see that they scored another try. And then I watched it the next morning. I mean, what's the name? Chip kicking in his try line into Glasgow's hand. See, this is what happens when I'm angry. I can't even talk. You go.
Yeah, it's. I get you. Like, another thing, TMO. Like, can we please use that thing correctly? Not like we use it for unnecessary things, but then when it's really necessary, we don't use it. Like, as much as the Stormers knocked on the ball first, if Glasgow's player knocks the ball on afterwards, it kind of has to be Glasgow's scrum, but you still have to take the scrum, Yes. Like, that's just basic rugby 101. So yeah, obviously I would be frustrated. But I was like you, I kind of turned over to the F1 qualifying towards the end, because obviously I was supporting the Stormers in this, but obviously they just couldn't get it done, which is unfortunate. Would have loved to see the Stormers play Munster. But on the positive, we get to see a bunch of Stormers players now go to the Springboks, and guys like Andre Rufenta, who else got called up? Ben Jason Dixon.
On that topic of Ben Jason Dixon, did you see that guy's defensive performance in this game against Glasgow? That was insane. That tackle that he made on who was it? I can't remember now, but he made one of the biggest tackles in the game. It was almost like a Peter Steph-Toy incident in the final. But enough about that. My rant is over. We've said what we need to say. I'm sad about it. I'm grumpy, but that's not going to change anything. Let's go on to the actual Battle of the Irish. Munster.
Leinster, Ulster. No, Leinster, Ulster. Yeah.
Leinster. Sorry, did I say Munster? I meant
Irish. No, I know you meant.
Yes, Leinster versus Ulster. Sorry.
Yeah. So all these Ulsters, Munsters thing, Anyway, I mean, we like obviously Ulster had walked into this game having a sniff because they had beat Leinster twice previously, but obviously there was a caveat behind that with Leinster not playing their full strength side against Ulster both times. And this is what happens when Leinster play their full strength. It is it's a side that just is able to turn it on when they have to turn it on. And ultimately, Ulster are just, they're not going to be good enough to beat Leinster, especially at Leinster. So it was expected. And especially when they had, I mean, Ulster, look, the first 20 minutes, I thought Ulster really gave it a go. Like they really were in the fight. And then after 20 minutes, Leinster just turned it up and ran away with it. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. Obviously, I don't know if you saw it, but I think, I don't know if it's your casual. I keep forgetting, but one of you guys don't like Sam Prendergast at all. I don't know who it is, but
I don't mind, but casual doesn't like.
Oh, it's casual. Well, but he had a pretty cool moment there where he did the chip, and then he did like a little Sasha Feinberg moment where he like chipped it to his player, and the ball didn't even bounce. That was pretty cool. Such a young talent as well. So Leinster, look, as much as we banter Leinster, they have talent coming up from their academy, and you know what? That's fair due. Fair due. You guys are now playing the Bulls, and Jake White actually said, like, the pressure on the Bulls Benetton game was on the Bulls, obviously, to perform, and he kind of said now with Leinster versus the Bulls and the Bulls not having 3 Springboks available, the pressure's kind of on Leinster, which I somewhat agree with because I feel like the Bulls kind of approach this as underdogs. But it will be cool to see how Leinster handle the pressure. So sometimes we've seen them handle pressure well, sometimes we've seen them handle pressure not so well. So it's going to be a cool game. Regardless of the outcome, obviously I want the Bulls to win. But yeah, what was your thoughts on that game, if you did catch?
Yeah, I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did think that that, like you said, you took the words out of my mouth when you said the first 20 minutes. I thought that Ulster, whoa, this is going to be a good game, and then it kind of turned out not to be. So it was actually, I think after halftime, I got a bit bored with the game. It was fairly predictable, probably the easiest prediction we've made. So yeah, actually nothing else to add to that, but yeah, Leinster, they are the better team. It is what it is.
It is for sure. And then obviously the first game of the weekend, which we're talking about last, ironically, is Munster versus Ospreys. And as much as Munster didn't, obviously it's a convincing win, don't get me wrong, but they didn't give them a hiding, I would say. It was a convincing win, but it wasn't a hiding. But it still looked so, how can I put it, just so controlled. Like Munster, I think there was one moment in the game where you maybe went, Ospreys could fight this whole game through, and that's when they scored their try. Obviously Munster scored, and then Ospreys literally scored straight after. And you thought maybe, but then you kind of in the back of your head thought, no ways, Munster will have this under control. So again, Munster just, in my opinion, I'm going to give them the favourites to win this tournament just because of how good they've been and how good they control every game. And Leinster fans won't like hearing that. And that's not disrespect to Leinster. It's just I've been very impressed with what Munster have done since a lot of people have said, like, listen, this could be a terrible defense of the title from them, especially since the beginning of the season. And they've just come back and really just given it horns. And you just look at a Munster side that really has the potential to win this back-to-back. So, yeah, what were your thoughts on that game?
You took every word almost out of my mouth. I think
sorry, I talk too much.
That was a very good summary of the game. Very well controlled, because I think Ospreys had one of their better games of the season. They tried and tried and tried, and they just couldn't. And therefore, I also agree that this is Munster's tournament to lose. It was extremely impressive from Munster how well they controlled that game. The game management, the everything was just so well equipped. I was very impressed with that Munster performance. But like you said, they didn't run away with the game. They didn't need to in the end of at the day. They just needed to win, and they did exactly that. And therefore, I agree, this is Munster's tournament to lose. They are so well gelled and put together, and they are so calm. All of
literally,
them.
It's crazy. Like they don't ever look like they're stressing. There's no, like, every game that even when they played Ulster last weekend, right, or the weekend before the quarterfinals, Ulster were in control of majority of that game, but at no point did I ever feel like Munster were going to lose. Like, I was hoping they would lose because that would put the Bulls in first, and they could get home benefits for the rest of the competition.
Yeah.
But I just thought, don't get your hopes up. Like, this Munster team look controlled, they look calm, and they'll break through any team eventually. Like, they've got enough to break through any team eventually with patience. So, obviously that now means Munster play Glasgow. Obviously Munster being at home, and obviously Bulls playing Leinster. Bulls playing at home. It will probably be me and Brett again, just the two of us doing a preview for that, because Casual obviously will be mingling with his lady.
England.
So, yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys there. But thank you so much before we close this, is there anything else you want to add?
No, okay, I'm good.
We're good. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Saffers Unscripted. We are literally creeping up to episode 100, which is crazy. It's like just comes so quick. But awesome to have you guys watching. Please share your predictions for the upcoming semi-finals. Share your thoughts on the games in the quarterfinals. And like, we didn't really chat about the Prem final because we're quite busy, and like, we're watching our own team, and we both play rugby, so it's difficult to watch all these games. But obviously, congratulations to Northampton Saints for winning that. But comment anything about rugby, and we might just talk about it. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and we will see you soon. Cheers.
Okay, bye.